What's up, YouTube? It's Anthony Castillo with you guys. So I'm going to give you guys this rundown. Um, so it is pretty much midnight right now, and I just decided to go to work for a little bit um, on my own time. So it's past midnight, and we know that most traditional businesses are kind of on emotional continuum, right? They, if you have a job that you have to work from 8 to 5, you're pretty much conditioned through a pattern. Or, I used to work graveyard shifts, and I still work those shifts as well. And trust me, I mean, I've seen this before, and I'm gonna put up this gene right here. It's kind of a gene that normally happens in the mind and the brain when constant levels of PTSD is happening. And I definitely want to be able to put this in a spiritual context, because it's intense. It's very intense when you start to see that the hyperactivity of the brain is rapidly happening at certain levels that we can't understand. And it's because of the hyperactivity and the hyper vigilance and the preparedness and the over analytical part of the mind is on autopilot at times, especially if a person's working graveyard shifts and is always on a hyper arousal out there. And I'll be honest, I mean, I encountered several officers in my life that have been so perpetual and very hyper vigilant around me. And it was kind of frightening, to be honest, because I remember how intense it was. Because I myself, when I remember taking care of an officer one time, and I'll be honest, I used to also speak with officers that always tried to provoke me in the past. And I was aware of it. I'm not going to live in denial that that's what they do. And because it's such a culturally an adrenaline career. I've spoken with other I've spoken with like people in that industry that even had very concerning testimonies about dealing with officers that are dealing with chronic PTSD and always on the alert, always stuff like that. Now, the reason behind this is because we're gonna have to look at this gene, and it's been so intense that how the level of just emotional exhaustion it can be when you are almost like hopeless and helpless with a person like that is not willing to admit that they are hurting other people, right? I myself, I've never been in that position. I've never been in that profession, but myself, I've encountered how much of the wrongdoing, in spirituality, we think about, even in the Bible, I'm not going to bring that into context, but, it's his basic universal laws, right? Do no harm unto someone. And even in medical communities, they abide by these ethics of like beneficence and medical ethics, like do no harm unto no one. And that's kind of the reason why I've used some principles to kind of reconstruct the thought patterns, to be able to say stop projecting, stop, or non overt energy or negativity. Anyways, this gene right here, you could do your own research on this gene. I've done it myself. I've looked into it. There's a wealth of research behind just how it affects the spiritual body and how it affects the spirituality. And I'm aware, like, I've collaborated with, real, sociologists that study these things and they know about these things. It's already, it's statistically relevant and statistically known that that's what this is, right? Most people would believe it's, it's kind of brutal of the manifestation of it because it's intense, because we can't control those people when you well, anyways, I just want to get on here about this because this is spirituality, and it's sad when we realize that it's affecting from every level. And I know that of the people I've spoken with, they like to use the word theory. I don't like that word. I genuinely don't like that word, just because when you apply theory, you're basically stating that that's what the person, these people want, is that theoretically that's the result they're looking for. That's like saying, I wish nothing but harm onto you. Have you not seen my other video about safety, protection, and blessings? Like, you want to program that. There should be a different mode of communication when it comes to wishing something out. Like, you want good intentions onto people's lives, right? Now, if you believe in, you think about the profession, you have to be critical of a person, right? You have to be critical of society to observe the negatives in society. And so what does that do? The individual in that profession is projecting that for the result to happen. But anyways, back to this gene. I wanted to put this on here because I am aware of the spirituality. I'm working past, traditional, 8 to 5, and it's midnight, past midnight. And it's really frightening. But I just want, I just want to get on here and let you guys know that. And this is kind of extensive, and when we realize this and we don't take notice of it, and there's really, it's just what it is, it is what it is. If you really want to be genuinely honest, officers are not doctors. They're not, you can put so many certifications all over their names, but they're not doctors. They can't, it's just, it's truth telling. You have to be able to tell the truth and say that even doctor, I'm not gonna get into that. But anyways, guys, remember, spirituality is about learning how to find the emotional part, but also understanding what is happening, right? Understanding what is happening, reintegrating a new form of thought process, right? Because even if we get to the point where we will do everything in our willpower to try to negate whatever energy is out there right now that is literally priming itself, right? Priming itself. If you know anything about Amazon and its cars and its algorithms out there, it's called prime. So you're priming something, right? Whatever energy is out there that's priming. Let's just wish nothing but safety, blessings, and protection. That's it. Remember to subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.